Bill O'Reilly is joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. He's doing his show weeknights at BillO'Reilly.com. Well worth your time on the premium membership. And I also caught him on News Nation watching some of the coverage on there on Monday night, which I thought was very well done. Bill, how'd you feel like that went?
I'm delirious when I go on TV now, so I don't know how it goes. I just let it fly. You know me. I don't really have any time for subtleties or any kind of, what do they want to hear? I don't have time for that. So I think my analysis was pretty pithy. Nobody's going to beat Trump at this point. He knows it. Now he has to negotiate all these court cases. Although New Hampshire is going to be very strange because of all the crossover voting next Tuesday night.
But what does it mean really come South Carolina? I mean, once you get down there, I know it's Haley's old state, but this is, as you alluded to there, this is a Trump route, right? There's no more to really analyze when it comes to the primary and who's going to win it. Yeah,
South Carolina's MAGA country. Nikki Haley did a decent job as governor of the state, but she wasn't beloved. I think Trump will win it fairly handily. It looks like DeSantis is going to stay in for that. I thought DeSantis would pack it after New Hampshire. He's going to get absolutely crushed there. But it looks like he's not even going to campaign in New Hampshire because he went right down to South Carolina from Iowa. Mm-hmm. And it's very chilly up here in the Northeast. I know you guys had, minus 87 in those poor Miami Dolphins. They didn't know what hit them.
Yeah, well, I was out at the game, Bill. I'm still thawing out from that experience
on
Saturday.
My God, you have to be in a box, not a box, but a literal box. My God.
Bill O'Reilly's on KCMO. Bill, speaking of DeSantis, is there anyone historically you can think of that was flying as high as this guy was a year ago after winning re-election, and everyone's talking about him being a presidential nominee, and then he falls flat on his face? Does anyone come to mind, and what do you attribute this fall from grace to?
John Kasich comes to mind.
Okay.
Brilliant man, Kasich. Everybody thought he might be a contender, but he just couldn't connect with the folks. And in Kasich's situation, he just bored everybody to death by over-analyzing everything. With DeSantis, he's just non-charismatic. He's dull. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to be cruel, but does anybody want to listen to Ron DeSantis for an hour? I mean, Trump's out there and he's juggling, he's throwing things at you, he's, singing YMCA. This day and age, if you're going up against Trump and you're going, well, what we did in Florida, you're going to get killed. And that's what happened.
Yeah. Is that a fault of just his own personality flaws? Is it advisors?
I guess. I don't know him.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people who do know him. Mm-hmm. And they all say he's low key.
Yeah.
That's the description.
Gotcha. Now, what about Trump when it comes to now it seems like the conversation is going to center around who's he picked for VP? I mean, where would you go with that, Bill O'Reilly?
I go to Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas, the governor. That's who I put on my second. Trump knows her very well, trusts her. Her message is a MAGA message. She needs a woman on the ticket. That's where I go.
What's the strategy of picking a VP? Historically, what works?
It depends on what they need. So when Barack Obama ran the first time around against John McCain, he needed a fixer. He needed somebody who knew everybody on Capitol Hill, all the Democrats, and that was Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. Biden had been there forever, and he knew everybody. He could get with everybody, convince them to do whatever the Obama campaign wanted them to do, and so that's why he picked Biden. Mm-hmm. So each vice president is usually selected on the basis of how they can help the presidential candidate. Like Lyndon Johnson was selected, and the Kennedys hated him. But they put him on the ticket because they needed Texas. And because Kennedy was not popular in the South. So they threw LBJ on the second. And that's how it's usually done.
Do you see, I mean, you mentioned picking someone that necessarily you don't like, the perception being Trump needs help with women and in the suburbs. Huckabee Sanders is MAGA, as you noted, but does that help Trump with a constituency that still may be on the fence with him?
Yeah, I think it helps him. I mean, she's a good campaigner, team normal, you know. I think among women who don't like him but have not said, I'll never vote for him, because up against Biden, my God, you know, women are going to the grocery store, right? I mean, men do too, but they know what's going on. So if you put somebody like Huckabee Sanders on a ticket, and she's a very good campaigner, and there's synergy there, it seems to be a positive.
Mm-hmm. Bill, when you see these Biden approval numbers now in the low 30s, you've wondered for a long time whether or not he's actually going to make it and be the guy in November. Do you feel differently about that, knowing that these approval numbers keep going in the toilet?
You know, at this point, the polls don't really matter very much, Pete. It's going to be the incumbent, if he doesn't resign for health reasons, Biden, against Trump. And both of them are unpopular. They're below 50% approval. Biden's a disaster as a president. I mean, you got to know that. Nobody in my orbit even defends him anymore. Even the ardent liberals. Nobody defends him. They just hate Trump.
So there's no way you think that Biden, I mean, health reasons is the only thing you think at this point gets him out. Barack can't twist his arm?
It's set up whereby there's only one person that the Democrats could throw up there that would be competitive on a national level, and that's Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
So we saw her last week come out on a podcast, and I went, why is she doing a podcast? Michelle Obama doesn't do podcasts. And there was no reason. Didn't have a book, didn't dine with Oprah. I mean, what is she doing there? And I think the signal was, I'm here. Now, Michelle Obama's not going to campaign.
Yeah.
But all that has to happen is the primaries go ahead. Biden wins a Democratic nomination. He gets the delegates. Trump, the same for the Republicans. And then in June, when Biden's approval numbers are 20%, because he's not going to get any better, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, that he writes a letter and says, I'm not going to run again, just like LBJ did in the Vietnam War in the 60s, late 60s. I'm not going to run again. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to stay here until November, but I'm not running again, and I'm putting all my delegates, I'm releasing them, and I hope you support Michelle Obama. So they go to convention, and that's what happens.
Bill, last thing, I saw this headline here that a couple of your books, they want to remove the Killing Reagan book and Killing Jesus book from some Florida school. What is that all? Have they given you any answers on that? What's going on there?
No, they're running for cover now.
Okay.
So in, I think it's Escambia County, that's Pensacola, Florida, there are loons running the school board. They're insane. So they have a new law signed by DeSantis that says you cannot have books in a school library that has inappropriate sexual content, which I supported that law. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, now they've extended the law to John Grisham, to me, to Anne Frank, to Stephen King, and they hauled off 1,500 books out of that library in that county, the school libraries.
Wow.
So we called DeSantis for comment, and his people were flat out rude to us.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And I told them, I said on the air, I mean, that eliminates DeSantis from any consideration that I would ever vote for him, because you're the architect of this law. If the law is being abused, which it certainly is, you don't have any comment on it? I'm sorry. That is not going to stand. So what I suspect will happen is the books will be put back. They're under heavy pressure. The local Florida press has picked it up. Newsweek magazine on. They don't publish anymore, but they picked it up, and it's just an appalling situation. But it just shows you pass a law, you got to have very specific things in the law. You can't let people run wild.
You can't. Bill O'Reilly.
The final thing I want to say is the two books they pulled were Killing Jesus and Killing Reagan. Look, those school kids need all the Jesus they can get. Okay? This is insane.
Yeah, it is. Unbelievable. Well, Bill, always great stuff. People should be watching you every weeknight. BillO'Reilly.com, well worth your time. And on top of that, want to thank you again, Bill, for helping make our fundraiser last month for Pediatric Hospital here in Kansas City the best ever, in part because you signed 10 copies of your recent book, Killing the Witches, for our top 10 donors. So thank you again for doing that.
Happy to do it, Pete. And thank you for raising money for the facility. It's a very noble effort, and I hope we can talk again soon.
You bet. And are you on the Chiefs this weekend, Bill?
I can't call that game.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, it's two even teams. It'll be 14 below zero in Buffalo, but the Chiefs are a good cold weather team.
Yeah, good deal.
But very tough game.
Well, thank you again, Bill. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate the time.
Okay, cheers.
You bet. That is Bill O'Reilly on KCMO Talk Radio.